With us now, CNN senior political commentator Scott Jennings and Matt Bennett, a Democratic strategist. I kind of want to talk about this as a whole, the way the president was talking about workers there, and this reporting from Elena that the White House this morning thinks the president needs to get out there more and talk about affordability. It kind of gets to this notion that the way the president has been behaving and speaking in 2025 isn't really the MAGA 2016 Donald Trump who connected with American workers. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I was on this show a bunch of times last year saying the economy's going pretty well because that was the Democratic talking point, and it did not work. You cannot convince people that the economy is better than they feel that it actually is. And Trump is doing, and Republicans in the Congress are doing things that are making it actively harder for people, like the premium increases that they're about to see on the Obamacare exchanges. So all of that suggests that things are pretty rough out there, and Trump just trying to talk it out of existence is not going to work.
What about it, Scott? And what about the message that was sent 1 week ago in the elections, what voters want to hear, and what the White House is actually saying?
Well, I'm not one to overreact to blue elections in blue states, but every president has to grapple with one immutable fact. How people feel about the economy will be directly connected about how they feel about your job in office. He's no different than anybody else on that. I think it's absolutely true that he has done things that will put us on a better path. I think the big beautiful bill, the permanency in the tax rates, energy deregulation, all of these things over time, he firmly believes will work. I think Republicans believe they're going to work. The immediate issue, though, is that during the Biden years, prices went to the moon, and they're still there. And although the rate of inflation is undoubtedly lower today than it was during the comprehensive period of Joe Biden, people still feel like it's hard to get my nose above water. And the way you ultimately get out of this is how? Through growth, through wage improvement. And I think the Republican view is that over time our plans will create more growth and will create higher wages. It just hasn't, it hasn't caught up with people's perceptions of affordability in the 10 months.
But the perceptions is what we're talking about here in this White House, sort of semi-acknowledgement that the president needs to address it more. He seems to be saying things are great, people don't feel the way they say they feel, the polls are lying. I mean, that he's literally said the polls aren't reflecting what's out there.
Yeah, look, I'm sure some people feel much better than they did when Joe Biden was at the wheel, and I'm sure some people don't yet feel as good as they want to feel. I mean, ultimately, what you want voters to feel like is the trajectory is correct. Am I on the right path? Is in the next year, am I going to get ahead? That's ultimately how you want people to feel. And look, he's got 3 years, ultimately for the entirety of his presidency to make people feel that way. But the first report card comes in less than a year when the midterms come up.
Music to your ears, the idea that the White House, the president is still talking a certain way?
Yeah, it all sounds very familiar to me. And I think the other thing to keep in mind is he's doing things that are making it actively worse, not just the Obamacare premiums, but the tariffs. They're making stuff more expensive, and he promised to bring down prices on day one. He didn't.
Let's talk about the Jack Schlossberg era of American politics. President Kennedy's grandson, Jack Schlossberg, announcing he's going to run for Congress here in Manhattan. Jerry Nadler's district encompasses the Empire State Building, the Upper East Side, Central Park, a big part of Manhattan now. Schlossberg, and we should be showing video of this right now, is basically a social media influencer. He spends a lot of time on TikTok, some 800,000 followers. Head to your computer to check it out. Here we go. This is him. All kinds of videos all the time. And this is basically his gig. I mean, he's written some articles for Vogue and whatnot and other things. How do you feel about this? Family name, social media, is that the recipe for the Democratic future?
I mean, maybe, but I don't know about another social media influencer in Congress. There's a lot of kind of social media performance that goes on in Congress already. And walking over here, I passed about 9 other candidates for that House seat, so it's not a lock by any means.
So Jerry Nadler himself, the retiring Democrat, had a really interesting conversation with Kate a little while ago when Schlossberg was thinking about running. Listen to what he said.
There's nothing particularly good or bad about a Kennedy holding my seat, but the Kennedy, unlike Schlossberg, should be somebody with a record of public service, a record of public accomplishment, and he doesn't have one. So I don't think he's going to be a candidate in the end, and he certainly is not going to be a major candidate.
Well, Nadler was wrong. He is a candidate, Scott.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a free country. I guess everybody's allowed to run. And the way you get attention these days in some of these Democratic primaries is to be a social media influencer, to try to do, attention-seeking, outrageous things that have nothing to do with public service or issues. I don't know whether it's good or bad for the Democratic Party? They seem to have no real clear direction to me right now.
Is it a party thing or is it a political thing? Because I do think that the social media influencing isn't, sort of a nonpartisan issue. We're in this new era where attention seems to be the main commodity.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of congressional hearings where there are people posing for social media. There is no doubt. They're asking ridiculous questions. They're making speeches. They're doing it so they can post this stuff online. And this is a very bipartisan problem. Plenty of Republicans doing this.
I mean, I don't know if it's a problem to communicate with people. I guess the question would be, what are you communicating? And, what do you stand for? Why is it? What is motivating you to be in this particular race? I think ultimately that's what most voters want to know. I'm not entirely sure what's motivating him other than he thinks it's the family business, which I'm not certain is a great argument for voters these days. We just had the No Kings rally. I don't know if he still thinks the monarchy is good here, passing these things down through the family. But ultimately, he's going to have to make an argument. And typically, it's not good enough to say, well, I'm on your screen. That's a good enough argument to put me in Congress. You have to have something to say, and I don't know what that's going to be for him, but we'll see.
All right, Scott, Matt, thank you both very much. If you like this segment, please clip it and share it on social media, is all I have to say about that. Kate?